You are now tuned in to the Edge Work Podcast with David Pagnotta, Dennis Bernstein, and Zack Bodenstein.
And we're back again here on the Edge Work Podcast. David Pagnotta and Dennis Bernstein alongside me. My name is Zack Bodenstein. Boys, we've been waiting for this day for a long time. It's opening day in Major League Baseball, so that's always a good time for the three of us. We've got hockey winding down. We've got baseball ramping up. It's always an excellent time of the year in the sports world. And gents, we have a race now in the Western Conference wildcard standings. Finally, we've been waiting for this all year. The Jets, the Flames, and the Predators, all of them kind of fighting for that one spot. Dave, I'm wondering for you, who gets in and why?
Well, for the longest time, I kept saying, and we've talked about it, Jets are going to keep it going. They're going to be able to pull this off, and they'll get things. They'll probably be a quick out in the first round, but they'll do enough. I don't know anymore. I'm so hesitant about these Jets, especially after Rick Bowness comes out, calls out the team, rightfully so, quite frankly. I don't know about Winnipeg anymore, guys. It's with a handful of games to go. I'm not sure there's enough for them to pull this off. And I look at Calgary, and I think Calgary is cute, and I think it's right there to the end. And I don't know. I don't think they could pull it off. But for me, it's Nashville, guys. Like a couple games in hand. I'm looking at the Predators, and I'm going, can they really make this happen? And it wouldn't shock me whatsoever to see that happen because of all the turmoil, the internal turmoil in Winnipeg. And if Winnipeg misses, or they're a quick out, like a quick 4-game sweep, DB, I think there's big changes in Manitoba.
Well, a couple of things. Let's go back to Tuesday. Who had this parlay? Nashville beating Boston in Boston,
right,
and then Winnipeg losing in San Jose. No one had it. Like, you could have made a ton of money since it's a betting network. You could have made a ton of money. Here's the thing. Nashville, I think, has the hardest remaining schedule. They have a brutal schedule. Like, I credit this team because they were sellers at the deadline. Like, they traded guys off. They had guys like Luke Evangelista and Phil Tomasino playing now, and they're still winning games because of Saros in it. So I saw Calgary on Tuesday night, and yes, I'm in Edmonton. There's proof. I wanted to show everybody I am in Edmonton for Kings, along with Dave. I saw Calgary. If Jacob Markstrom's going to play like this the last 7 games, they'll get in. He was fantastic. 33 saves. He stopped Kevin Fiala on a breakaway that was really like a penalty shot. Like, I had never seen a breakaway. The guy was probably from the Kings blue line all the way in, stopped, took a shot. So I like Calgary because that's a team that they're a dominant puck possession team. They have been all year. They just can't score because 2 of their greatest players left and went to Florida and went to Columbus. So I do like Calgary at this point because I like the goaltender. If he's going to play this way, because he hasn't played like this all year. The reason Calgary's in this predicament, Zach, is because of primarily the lack of scoring, but also Jacob Markstrom hasn't been worthy of his contract. So I would give the edge to them. And the Jets, I want to say something about Bowness, though. Bowness called out his team, but like, they got goalied in San Jose. James Reimer played the best game of not his life, but certainly of this season. He had 41 saves. So it's not like this team went through the motions, had 17 shots on goal. Look, I get it. If you look at the score sheet that night, 2 guys. Dubois, I think, had 1 shot on goal. And Niederreiter Ryder didn't even attempt the goal. So I think he's calling out those guys. But like Kyle Connor had 12 attempts. He had 4 shots on goal, 4 attempts blocked, and missed 4 shots. So, look, obviously he's not on board with Wheeler because he stripped him from the sea. So, the Jets are in trouble. Because remember, Zach, like a month ago, they were in first place. And this team is really, really taking a dive. So right now, if I had to handicap it, I actually like Calgary to get to that second wild card.
I don't think any of us were going to say that earlier in the year.
No. It only took what? It took 75 games for Markstrom to wake up.
And how many losses after outshooting their opponents by 100?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Every loss, basically.
Just it's such a confusing team because of the way that their attack is put together. Like, that, for me, it's all coaching, and it's the staff in general and the direction from Daryl Sutter. And like DB said, like, they could shut down like nobody's business. And going into the third period, their record with a lead is outstanding.
Yeah, it's like 28-1-5 or something like that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: in that game on Tuesday, they outshot the Kings by 2. So it wasn't a puck possession game. It wasn't a dominant shot total game. Like, it was, okay, back and forth. And they know how to shut teams down. But I think at this point, you like them. But look, Zach, any of these teams, like you can't. Here's the thing: you can't trust any of these teams. So when Dave says this team, I say Calgary. You can't trust these guys because Calgary go out and lose to Anaheim or some stupid thing like that. So there's a reason these teams are in this predicament. Like Nashville, it's purely talent. They don't have the talent the other teams do, but I think they have the most try of any of them. I think they really are. At the deadline, these guys probably huddled and said, like, look, screw the GM, screw everybody else. Nobody thinks we can make it. Let's go make the playoffs.
Yep.
And that win was extra special in Boston just because of what happened in Nashville this week. So that was awesome to see. The post-game speech from John Hines, from Roman Josi, that was awesome. So good to see the Preds get a win, but you're right. Either team, tough to really ask much of if you're going against a Colorado, maybe a Minnesota. A big win by Minnesota against Colorado, by the way.
Huge. Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole other conversation. The Central is just absolutely loaded right now between the Stars, the Avalanche, and the Minnesota Wild. I actually want to go out east right now, though, because DB, the New York Islanders, buzzing right now. 11-4-2 since Matt Barzal went down with an injury. And a lot of teams, they'd fold if, their 1C went out, but they get the Bo Horvat at the deadline. Ilya Sorokin's been excellent for them right now. A lot is going right. In your mind, what do you see with the New York Islanders? What are your expectations?
Can we first talk about the Kuznetsov shootout attempts? Can we do that? Every time I see it, I laugh, and I'm like, is that really good for the game? The Islanders, look, and Bo Horvat really hasn't, like, when he came there, he did okay. Remember Bo Horvat had like 31 goals in Vancouver and got, 6? I don't know how many, but not many. So Barzal went out. Horvat hasn't really done much. How did they do it? Defense and goaltending. Sorokin's been fine. You can argue he's the best goaltender in New York. You could argue he's better than Shesterkin at this point in time because he's carrying this team. And they'll make it. They're going to make it. Now, and I'll give them a legit shot. If you want to forecast the playoffs, like I'll give them a legitimate shot against a team like Carolina because Carolina doesn't blow anybody out. And every game, if it's Carolina Islanders, first of all, you might want to have some coffee while you're watching the game because it's going to be probably really boring and not a lot of scoring. Every game's going to be 3-2, 2-1. I would give them a legit shot to beat Carolina, not the rest of the teams. The other teams have better offensive, but it's not surprising because Islanders play this way 82 games out of the year. They tried to improve the offense, bringing in Bo, but then Barzal going down really didn't help. So they're playing their style. It's working. Sorokin's hot, and that's what they're doing. They're riding a goaltender into the playoffs, and that's a good thing. I'm not just sure, Dave, that there's enough offense spread around on this team to make it the legit shot against Carolina, whoever they play in the first round. But can they actually win a round? I'm not really sure because I just don't think there's enough goals in those sticks right now.
Yeah, if Barzal comes back for the start of the first round at some point and helps kind of rejuvenate Horvat, 6 goals in 24 games since joining the Islanders, then I'm taking him. I'm taking him over Carolina, quite frankly. I mean, that's the positioning right now. I think there's enough because of the defensive structure and the goaltending and everything with this club and the way that they're playing. And I legitimately believe that they would have enough in a 7-game series to beat the Carolina Hurricanes and then give Lou Lamoriello an argument to re-up for another few seasons because his contract's up and give everybody the illusion that it's his fault that they got to the second round. I think there's enough within this group to play a team like the Hurricanes and be able to succeed in a 7-game series. But a lot of it's going to depend on Matt Barzal and him coming back.
Yeah.
Just as well as the goaltending with Ilya Sorokin, whom I fully agree with DB on. Right now, he's the best goaltender in that division. Right. Just the way that he's performing. So if you can ride that, if you can utilize your defensive structure that has made you so good for so many years. I mean, it was Barry Trotz's thing, but now, Lambert came in and basically he's instituted the same thing.
He changed nothing. It's the same team.
Right. So, I mean, again, they're going to get – I think there's enough there to get to the second round, and then they'll get smoked. But I think there's enough to make that happen. And for an organization like the Islanders – with some question marks around them and with that new rink and which is gorgeous and all of that, getting to the second round is a big deal.
Yep. So that's wildcard 1. Wildcard 2 would have the absolute wonderful pleasure of facing the Boston Bruins in the first round.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good race in its own. We touched on that last week. The Penguins and the Florida Panthers. Now, Tristan Jarry's been up and down. Florida had a losing streak. Keith Tkachuk calls them out. Big win against the Toronto Maple Leafs. DB, what are you looking at this race, Penguins and Panthers?
Okay, I talked about that parlay on Tuesday. Who had Alex Lyon making 38 saves at Scotiabank last night? No one. Like, people like, he's going to start? Like, is Bobrovsky sick? Is he hurt? Like, there's no way they're going to win that game.
Trouble.
And they found a way. They found a way to win. I commend them. They found a way to win. They get a goal in the last minute of the game. They wind up winning in overtime. Brandon Montour's had a fantastic season.
Yeah.
He really, really has. So I credit them for manning up, because I don't believe in that team. And you're right, Zach. Does it matter? Like, that team or Pittsburgh, what are they going to do against Boston? What did Darryl Sutter say last year? A waste of 8 days in the playoffs?
Yep.
Is that what it would be? Look, they have some weapons. They're clearly not the same team. I don't know what's going on. There's still talent there. Tkachuk's had a fantastic season for them. Like, he's replaced Huberdeau, but they miss Weegar. And I don't know. And the other team, Pittsburgh, what do we play tonight? Nashville? That's a huge game.
Nashville.
And can you trust any of the goalies in Pittsburgh right now? Or like, Zach, here's the thing. You watch that game against Detroit, and they're down 3-0. You're like, wow, they really don't care. And then they rally to tie it. You got to go win that game at 3-3. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And what do? David Perron scores a hat trick. They lose 7-4. So I don't trust either one of these teams. And yet, it's almost like that by default. You have to have an 8th team.
Exactly.
Right. And so for me, I don't like either one of these teams. And I think it's a short series. So they're just playing for extra revenue, and they probably get a couple, maybe $1 million a game. So they get two extra home games to fill the coffers. But again, I don't feel good about either one of these teams right now, because again, they're like the West. There's a reason these teams are struggling to get to the postseason.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, I don't care. Honestly, I could care less which team makes it, because it's going to be a short out come playoff time. Like, games 83 to 87, maybe 88, and that's it. Your season's done. Like, you've got to deal with the Boston Bruins. And there's nothing on either of these two teams that I look at and I go, okay, they've got that Islanders potential to get into the second. I don't see that with either the Penguins or the Florida Panthers, based on how they're playing. Like, the DB talked about the goaltending. I don't trust it right now. Yeah. Like, and you got to think, for Tristan Jarry, who's going to be a UFA this summer, that this is a perfect opportunity to wake up, step up, and state your claim as a legit number one goaltender in the National Hockey League. He's been an all-star for a couple times. He's got enough there, but the weariness of his performance this season, like, the Penguins got to call Tom Barrasso back, or they got to get Jean-Claude Van Damme in friggin' sudden death to come in there and just smoke somebody or something like that to get this team going. I mean, this club, I don't trust the goaltending. I don't trust what's going on. I don't trust the consistency of the Florida Panthers.
See,
it doesn't matter.
I heard a rumor that Gino Malkin booked a vacation in Turks and Caicos on May 1st. So that's smart. No, just kidding. But yeah, again, both of these teams, there's a reason why they're in the 8th seed and they're struggling. It's the goaltending, but it's also structure. And look, the Penguins are an old team. They really are. Like, their star players are old. And look, Sid's been fantastic. Like, he might get, I don't think he'll be one of the 3 for Hart, but it's probably on my ballot. There's probably like 4th or 5th, but he's had a fantastic season. But Zach, there's not enough depth. There's not enough quality. And again, when you have, and here's the thing about it's not just these two teams. Like, we talked about this last night here. We're here, some of the Kings staff and personnel and on-air people. Like, how many contending teams have question marks in net?
Yep.
Like, most of the contending teams do. Like, look at the Pacific and tell me which goaltending you like the best. The top 4 teams. You'll take a while to figure out who it is. But yeah, Florida, Pittsburgh.
Guessing.
Yeah, Florida and Pittsburgh. Yeah, okay, they're going to be in the tournament, but not for long.
Yeah. I mean, I can get on board with that, especially given who they would have to go against in the first round. So Auston Matthews, 9 goals in the last 11 games. He's starting to heat up. DB was always poking fun at him at the start of the year because he was the favorite for the for the Rocket Richard Trophy, but obviously isn't going to happen this year. But the reason why I bring this up, Dave, is because I'm always wondering, do streaks in your mind play a role come playoff time? If a guy finishes the year hot, do you think that correlates to the playoffs, or is it just like a total mental reset going into the playoffs?
It should it should get you going come playoff time. You're riding that hot streak. You're riding that high. You want to keep that going. I mean, Auston, we touched on it last week, and we've talked about it off air. Like, he needs to get this streak going because it not only affects how the Leafs are going to play, but it also affects this exactly for Auston Matthews. So, you know, I would be ridiculously shocked if he enters next season without an extension, at least the framework of an extension in place. But this is a guy, and you look at some of these top tier players, to go into the postseason on this type of hot streak is huge. It's absolutely huge. Can they keep it going? Now, that mental reset that happens, a lot of that honestly is dependent on the coaching staff. Can you keep these guys in that mental state where it's, you got to keep going, you got to roll it out, you got to put everything you have out there to keep that streak going? That's up to the staff to keep these guys mentally in it. If you have that opportunity, which I think is a negative opportunity to reset, that it's 50-50 if you're going to keep that going come playoff time. So if I'm Auston Matthews, if I'm Sheldon Keefe and the rest of the coaching staff with respect to Auston, I'm just rolling in as hot as I can and trying to keep that momentum going come playoff time, because you're going to freaking need it against Tampa.
Yeah, that's great. That's great that he's got 9 goals in 11 games. And so what's he going to score? Who's he going to play in the first round? Vasilevsky and Hedman.
Yeah.
He's not getting 9 goals in that series. He's not. Play the under. If the over-under is 9 goals for Auston Matthews in the first round, play under. It's going to be a different game. It's great to see, because you're right, Dave. Personally, he needs it. The team needs it. You want some momentum going in, but that's a different animal they're playing in the playoffs. That's like from a scoring standpoint, like, these aren't going to be 7-4 games. These are going to be low-scoring games. So Austin's going to have to lead, but he's probably have to lead by example by doing the other things, the other parts of his game, like the 200-foot game. Because I don't think there's going to be a goal explosion from Auston Matthews, and it's not his fault. It's the quality of the the opposition and the competition in the first round. It's the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that's why. It's not that he's not capable of doing it to another team and going on and getting 5 or 6 goals in a series. It's like, how are you going to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning? You're going to try to run and gun with them? It's not going to happen, because, look, I think these teams on paper are even. I really like the Leafs. They have a really good team. I have a roster, right? But there's such a discrepancy in net. Like, I think that's the difference in the round. But great to see for Auston, like Dave said, personally, professionally, it's great to see for Auston to get back on track. But again, it's a different animal once we get to Tampa-Toronto series. And
Justin Bieber's excited for his buddy, so that's great. That's great too. And I called it too. As soon as I saw Justin Bieber at the game against Florida last night, I was like, watch, 34 is going to score a goal just for his buddy.
Can they stop showing Justin Bieber's back though when he scores? Like, every shot's Justin Bieber's back. Like, who is that? Is that some random?
Yeah, he's turning around, high five.
Some random skater, or is it actually Justin Bieber? So
yeah. I mean, the way Bieber aside, we're moving on from Bieber here, because I can't.
I saw the look on your face as soon as it was brought up. You're like,
you didn't like that.
For God's sake.
Like that point.
So, I mean, we're talking about Tampa, right? If we're looking at this as a first-round matchup, which we have been since December, what they can throw at you from a matchup standpoint is just crazy, because, I mean, they're so deep down the middle. I mean, the Leafs really addressed their depth issues as well at the trade deadline. But if you're talking about shutting down these opposition players, Tanner Jeannot, Dave, that FU guy that they acquired, they're pretty deep on the blue line, even though they could have done a little bit more at the trade deadline. But, I mean, up front, this team is loaded with 200-foot forwards, ones that aren't afraid to get physical and get in your face. So, I mean, this is a tough matchup for Auston. He's really going to have to adjust in your right, DB, maybe bring out some of his other elements, because he has really improved his defensive game too. So we do credit Auston Matthews for that. Now, it's baseball season. We've been talking about baseball, but Connor McDavid seemingly seems like he's going to win the Triple Crown: goals, assists, points, whatever the Triple Crown equivalent in hockey is. But I'm wondering, I mean, I'm looking at the standings and the leaders and everything. 50 goals, 100 points. That's in grasp for a lot of players. And we saw last year a lot of guys be point-per-game players. But now, DB, guys are taking the next step. 50 goals, 100 points. I don't know if you got a chance to look at the leaders in the NHL, but a lot of them have that opportunity to score 50 goals and or 100 points. So in your mind, who's on the bubble that is or isn't going to get it?
Well, I think who isn't going to get it, and he's had a marvelous season, is Brayden Point. Here's a guy nobody talks about. and he's got what? I think 44. I don't think
47.
he's got 47.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but here's the thing: like, how much is John Cooper going to use Brayden Point down the stretch? When you're locked in, you're not passing Toronto at this point. So I know this word, and it doesn't really happen in the NHL. Load management. Like, how much are you going to play Brayden Point, knowing that he was injured last? Look, and I know I get banged on by Colorado Avalanche fans, but if Brayden Point was healthy last year in the Stanley Cup Final, might have been a different story. It might have been a three-peat. So
I agree.
I give him a legit shot because this is a guy that nobody talks about. He's an under-radar guard, and I don't really think the team's game plan around him. I think the game plan around Stammer and Kucherov and try to beat Vasilevsky, and how do you try to attack Hedman? So he's the guy that at 47, I'd give him a legit shot because if he gets on the power play for a couple more games, he might get 2 or 3. So that's the one guy. Pasa's already there, so that's it. So I think that, and Rantanen's got what, 48?
48.
Yeah,
he's
so
right there.
So Rantanen, because of that loss last night, they're going to play hard. They still want to win the division. It's a huge win by Minnesota last night, and a surprising one, to be frank. So I would say Point at 47 and Rantanen 48, legit shots, because Point will probably get him on the power play, even though the games are meaningless. There are games of meaning for Colorado if they do want to win the division, and they're certainly going to lean into Mikko Rantanen to lead them to hopefully a division title.
There hasn't been a team since the early 90s, I believe, that have had 3 players or more with 100-point seasons. You've got Connor McDavid, you've got Leon Draisaitl, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is right there. Right there. And quite frankly, we're going to be at the game tonight against the LA Kings. If he can put up 4 points so I can see that in person, that'd be awesome for him to hit it. But there hasn't been, I believe it's the 92-93 Penguins. They're the last team to have 3 or more players with 100 points in a season. I want to see that.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be able to pull this off. And I think Brayden Point's going to have enough to hit the 50 mark. And these are 2 guys, Brayden Point and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. 2 of the guys that are probably the quietest to hit 100 points or 50 goals in a season, because we just don't talk about them enough. Yeah. Everything in Edmonton is Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And like DB said, Kucherov, Stamkos, Hedman, Vasilevsky in Tampa. Brayden Point's 3 goals away from 50.
Yeah.
I want to see that happen. I want to see 10 guys hitting the 100 mark. I want to see 4 or 5 guys hitting the 50 goal mark, because you're looking at, like, Draisaitl also has 47, so he's right there. I don't know if there's enough runway for Tage Thompson, who's at 44, to hit 50. Yeah. So I think that's just the cusp. But I think you've got an opportunity here to see 10, 11 guys hit the century mark this season, which would be outstanding for the game. And I don't think we've seen that also since, I think, the mid-90s, when 11 or 12 guys had 100-plus points.
And here's the thing, Zach. Nugent-Hopkins took a cut to stay in Edmonton long term. He's making what? I sit on the, I think he's making 6, and one, I guess, an Edmonton fan corrected me. I think his cap is $5.125 million for a 100-point player. Are you kidding me? Too bad he can't go back and renegotiate now, but he's been fantastic for this. People forget how high he was. He was the first overall. Come on.
Yeah.
He's and granted, he's playing with 2 all-world guys, but he has really emerged. It's great to see. Like, I remember, Dave, what was it, like 5 years ago when Jamie Benn led the league with, like, I don't know what it was.
87, yeah.
87 points. Like, this is, like, like they have those NHL commercials that are a little hokey, like the golden age, but it really is the golden age. It really is. What Connor's doing, but again, he's the magnitude of the stardom is so great that he dominates the landscape. But like you guys said, there's like 10 guys that could really do damage that in any other season, or without Connor McDavid in the league, you'd have a real battle for like the scoring championship, which is great to see. There's so much skill involved, and it's going to be exciting to see. But again, here's the thing: with all the scoring, what do you think happens in the playoffs? Like, who's playing over 6.5 goals in a playoff game? I don't think so. I think it's going to go. I think it's going to regress to the mean where you're going to see these games. And I forget who said this, but it says, like, in the NHL, you fight for every foot in games, but in the playoffs, you fight for every inch. So these guys that for freewheeling and stuff like that, they're going to see that. And look, all these guys are experienced and they've seen. But again, it's a different game come game 83. So it's great to see in the regular season all these points being put up. I think we're going to see a difference. First round might be crazy, but as we get deeper and deeper, these are going to be deeply contested games with great goaltending and defense, I think.
Edmonton will be a very interesting team in terms of playing overs in the playoffs because they are that run and gun team. Does Skinner have enough? Can their defense lock it up? We know they can score goals, so that'll be a very interesting thing. And I think it's really good for the game that scoring is up. You know what else is good for our souls? Baseball season is back, guys. You can check out Call to the Pen on YouTube, the baseball division of the Hammer Betting Network. We're running our live show every Monday to Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern with John Legeza to give you the best bets throughout the season. Head over there now and subscribe. Dave, World Series predictions. I know you're going to.
No, I know where it's going. Of course, where it's going.
Who's winning the NL to face the Jays for the World Series?
Right. The Jays. Man. I've been thinking about, I don't know, Phillies? Is there enough? We can have the 93 rematch? Maybe. I don't know. Dodgers. Probably Dodgers. Dodgers, Jays. Give me Dodgers, Jays.
Okay. Well, I was born in the Bronx, so you know who my AL pick is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. The interlocking NY. It's going to be a coast-to-coast series, but not what Dave thinks. It's going to be Yankees and Padres.
Padres. San Diego, yeah.
Dodgers had a lot of defections. Their pitching staff, Gonsolin's not starting the season. They're missing a lot of. They'll miss Justin Turner. It's not the same team, and San Diego loaded up. It's really, really. And look, the Jays are a legit team. You know, they could win the division, but I don't know. It's the Jays.
Let's see how that pitching holds up.
That's right.
I'm with you. With the Padres, I mean, everybody seems to forget. I think Xander Bogaerts is one of the most quiet signings in the MLB offseason. I mean, a loaded team just added him. They're going to get Tatis back at some point. They got some more pitching. This is a really good team.
Well, but Tatis is going to do something stupid during the season and get hurt, be out for like 60 or do steroids or something. And you can't. You talk about trusting guys in the NHL. I can't trust that guy. Now there's enough quality on that team to get there. And again, the division's weaker, so I like the Padres.
And by the way, that stadium, it's such a great place to watch a ball game.
For Petco, you're saying in San Diego?
Yeah, San Diego. It's just it's a phenomenal place to catch a ball game.
Oh, it's amazing. Like we go down there a couple of times a year when the Dodgers. Usually, my wife's a Dodger fan, so we go down and like you could stay at the Gaslamp Marriott and literally Zach stay there and walk across the street and you're in the stadium. It's a fantastic area. If they want to get out of the cold, if you're in the Northeast, or in the summertime, it's not really the case, but if go to San Diego for a game, it's a great experience. It's a lot of fun. It's a beautiful park and it's a beautiful city.
DB, you know what else is not? Well, this isn't a good space. In Anaheim, you get right off the freeway. It's Angel Stadium and Honda Center. It's the most awkward thing. I saw a game at Honda Center a few years ago. The most awkward area ever. There's like one restaurant and nothing else.
Yeah, they're building up a little bit. Yeah, they build. I think you have to go to downtown Disney, so you have to go a little further away from. But yeah, from the arena, there's nothing there. I think it's JT Schmid's or something like that. It's called. It's across the street, but you know.
I think Solani has a piece of that place or something like that.
Yeah, Zach, it's the Ducks. Like nobody cares about the Ducks outside of Orange County. And I joke. And if you're going to be offended in Anaheim, I apologize in advance. But Connor Bedard going to Anaheim, playing in that building at 10:30 at night Eastern time. If you're going to rig the lottery, rig it so they don't win, please. So I know that the rivalry between LA and the Ducks would be great. But yeah, it's a small market. And Zach, look, I live in Southern California, and the Angels have the two best players in the game, and nobody cares. Like nobody in LA cares. It's all about the Dodgers. Nobody cares. So Orange County is it's a beautiful area, a lot of money down there, but outside of that county, nobody cares about those teams, which is frankly, from a baseball standpoint, is a shame.
Got to think Shohei Ohtani's getting over $500 million. Sorry, almost $500 million, probably like 600 mil, something like that. I saw his projections, and him as a pitcher and a hitter combined, it would be like 800 million if they were just separate players. So
he's a unicorn.
Yes,
that. If people talk about unicorn, that's that guy. That's Babe Ruth. Like that, go see if he comes to your city. Go see him play. I mean, you saw what happened in the World Baseball Classic, but he is truly a unicorn. It's something we'll never see again. Like I've never seen it, and probably will never see it again.
Yeah, I've been saying he's the best athlete I've ever seen in my life, and it is to me not close. Although everybody's doing great things, I was saying like It's like if Justin Herbert, by example, was like a top 5 linebacker as well. It's just unheard of. You can't do it.
Analogy.
Right.
The first thing that came to mind.
Not
But
bad.
guys, enjoy the games. Let's enjoy the stretch run here in the NHL. Thank you for listening to the Edgework podcast here on the Hammer Betting Network. Again, check out our best bets of the day, Monday to Friday, 10:30 Eastern, and we will win you some money. So for David Pagnotta, Dennis Bernstein, I'm Zack Bodenstein, and we'll see you next week.